anyone who wants to talk about mental health is always welcome. That's a topic which is very close to my heart. So,
being a psychologist, you need to be tolerant a lot, है ना? Because getting a lot of information, traumatic information from people, it takes a lot of effort.
a clinical psychologist who will help you with those emotional upheavals which are happening because of that chemical imbalance. Okay.
Acha. How will we identify if we are needing, if we are seeking for some, mental help, some kind of therapy, and we
Okay.
seek for psychology? कैसे पता चलेगा? Some mental illness or sickness, anything, it's not visible. तो आपको पता नहीं चलता है.
Right. As we are growing up, we are constantly learning to put on different masks.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good
It's
morning,
very
Neil.
nice to be with you here. And how are you feeling today?
I think I'm feeling pretty amazing. Anyone who wants to talk about mental health is always welcome. That's a topic which is very close to my heart. So I'm feeling great. The more we reach out to people about mental health, the more I'm happy.
Great, great. So I just wanted to know, ma'am, what motivated you to become a psychologist? Because there are a lot of profession. You में आप जा सकते थे, कुछ भी profession choose कर सकते थे. But
Right.
what motivated you to pursue a career in psychology?
Okay. I always wanted, or my personality is something which is more suited into caring. So healthcare or was something that always interested me. Now, why psychology in healthcare? I think I was always very, very interested in observing people's behavior.
Right.
And what probably is going on in the mind that is leading to a certain behavior. So I personally believe no human being is born a certain way. It's a lot of nature, nurture that kind of forms your thought patterns over the years. Since you're a child, what we are observing, what we are internalizing as our experience is giving rise to your thought patterns. So that is shaping you to be a certain way. The way you think, the way you kind of react and maybe not respond most of the time.
Right.
So there's a lot that's happening in the mind. So that was very intriguing and interesting to me. So that's how I got into psychology.
And I think you need to be sensitive as well,
Yes.
to become a
Yes.
psychologist, because it's a
Exactly.
tricky profession to read
Exactly.
people's mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not really about when you talked about being emotionally sensitive, yes, it's a part that has to be a part of your personality. Unless you're empathetic, it's very difficult to understand what can be
Right.
going on in someone's
Right.
mind, or and so yeah, you
Yeah,
need
because I think being a psychologist, you need to be tolerant a lot, है ना? Because getting a lot of information, traumatic information from people, it takes a lot of effort to
yes.
understand and talk to them.
Exactly. But that again, is not something that comes from within. As a part of, our course and our learning, we are also, taught to kind of work on ourselves, where we have continuously had sessions for ourselves throughout the year when we've been doing this course. So when our cup is empty and we understand our thought patterns, our triggers, I think it's a little easier to be there for someone else without your own emotions and issues popping up. So I think being tolerant is not something that just comes. It's something you need to again work on yourself.
It's a process.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen आपके इसी बात से याद है, I've seen somewhere a reel of Bruce Lee where he was saying कि be like water,
Yes.
just clear, कि
Yeah.
जैसा हो रहा है you be the same thing. So it's nice. Can you explain me the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist?
Okay.
Because I don't think people understand.
Yes.
हम सब एक कैटेगराइज कर देते हैं, मेंटल इलनेस एंड देन डॉक्टर फॉर दैट. बट साइकोलॉजिस्ट का काम क्या होता है एंड साइकियाट्रिस्ट का काम क्या होता है, पीपल डजंट नो अबाउट इट.
Right. Basically, in mental health or mental health care, you would find counselors or therapists. You'll have clinical psychologists and you have psychiatrists. Okay, so when do you go to whom? So when you just kind of are feeling overwhelmed with things, you feel stuck, you don't know what to do, just feeling anxious about a certain thing, and it's not that anxiety is not a disorder, it's
Hmm.
just a general feeling of uneasiness, you don't know what to do, you're feeling overwhelmed, or you just need a place where you'll be heard unconditionally, non-judgmentally,
Hmm.
or you just want to kind of clear your mind and know your thought process of why you are a certain way, why do you think a certain way, and why are you reacting. Okay, then the person you go to is a counselor or a therapist. They are not going to prescribe any drugs, they are
Hmm.
not going to fix you.
Right.
uh, it is more of just helping you understand your thought
Right.
process,
Right.
and generally help you maneuver through that tough phase in your life. Okay, so that's where a counselor or a therapist comes in. Now a clinical psychologist would be a little above, where they're helping you more, to deal with your anxiety disorders, your panic disorders, or any kind of those illnesses,
Hmm.
and they'll be more often working along with a psychiatrist. Here again, they're not prescribing you any
So
medicines.
basically, it's neurological something.
No, not always neurological. A counselor, you don't need to have any neurological things, okay?
Acha.
Even a clinical psychologist, not about neurology exactly, it's much more than that.
Acha.
So there can be chemical imbalances in the brain or something that is leading to, these certain illnesses, which normally a psychiatrist would help
Hmm.
address with
Hmm.
medications.
Hmm.
But along with that, you would also need a clinical psychologist who will help you with those emotional upheavals which are happening because of that chemical imbalance. Okay,
Acha.
so that is where a clinical psychologist would be. That's where a psychiatrist is, when you actually have a chemical imbalance and you need medications for that
Hmm.
disorder. Okay,
Hmm.
so then a psychiatrist you would go to. But a counselor or a therapist is someone you can just go to at any point in your life.
Right.
You're just feeling stressed, you don't know what to do, you just need a non judgmental space.
Hmm.
That's where you
So
can go.
basically, where you feel कि you are unable to process
Yes,
whatever is happening with you, तब
exactly,
आप जाके किसी therapist के साथ बैठते हैं जो
exactly.
at least someone who can sit with you and talk
Yes,
and
yes,
listen to you,
yes,
है ना?
absolutely.
सो लॉन्ग स्टोरी शॉर्ट, इफ अगर मैं इसको एक डेफिनेशन दूं इजी भाषा में, तो अ थेरेपिस्ट इज मोर ऑफ अ गाइड, मेंटल गाइड, जो आपको गाइड
Sure.
करते हैं,
Yeah,
है ना, कि यू आर डूइंग समथिंग रॉन्ग, चलो ये आपका पर्सपेक्टिव चेंज करने में आपको हेल्प करते हैं
exactly.
थेरेपिस्ट.
And it's not more of giving advice or telling you what to do. That's
हम्म.
not what a counselor is supposed to do. A counselor will always help you understand your own thought processes. कि ये क्या हो रहा है, मैं क्यों ऐसे कर रहा हूँ.
हम्म.
Okay,
राइट.
what is my mental map,
राइट.
and then it's going to just kind of help you understand. So the counselor is just going to show you the light.
हम्म.
Walking तो आपको करना है पाथ पे, पर लाइट दिखाना है,
ऑब्वियसली.
और
हाँ.
आपको एडवाइस नहीं देना है, बट मोर ऑफ हेल्प यू, और गिव यू दोस थॉट प्रोवोकिंग क्वेश्चंस
हम्म.
or little things which will help you understand what am I, what do I want, and what is really happening within me.
राइट.
So it's
सो
just
थेरेपिस्ट इज अ लाइटमैन जो आपको रास्ता दिखाते हैं कहीं ना कहीं,
yeah,
चलना आपको ही है
yes,
ना,
absolutely,
है ना.
yes.
And what is the difference between bad mental health and mental illness?
Bad mental health or general mental health and mental illness, is
Yeah,
that what? Okay,
because technically मैं
yeah,
थोड़ा सा इजी कर देता हूँ,
हाँ,
शायद मैं अच्छे से पूछ नहीं पाया आपको. द थिंग इज कि एक होता है यू आर स्ट्रेस्ड, यू आर
hmm,
गोइंग थ्रू अ लॉट ऑफ
hmm,
शिटी थिंग्स, and you are exhausted and you don't know what to do,
hmm,
and that time you're looking for some guidance, someone to talk to
hmm,
guide you.
hmm,
And इलनेस इज जो पब्लिक पर्सपेक्टिव से, अगर मैं एक थर्ड पर्सन पर्सपेक्टिव से आपसे देखूं कि if I'm going through some depression or exhaustion and I'm sharing with anybody, and एक तो लोग यकीन नहीं करते, एंड जिनको यकीन आता है कि यार ये बंदा पागल है या फिर मेंटली सिक है.
hmm,
बट पर्सनली, दिस इज माय पर्सनल ओपिनियन, यू विल टेल मी आगे,
yes,
कि
yes,
sickness is something serious,
hmm,
and when you are just distracted, that is something different.
yeah, okay. So let me kind of shed light on this better.
हाँ.
So mental health in general is, it's a place of social, emotional, psychological well-being, which is needed by everyone, okay, to function better in your life. That is what your mental health is.
Right.
Now, what is mental illness? Mental illness is more of a diagnosable condition, like anxiety disorders,
हाँ.
or borderline personality disorders, or panic attacks, or PTSD. So those are mental illnesses. And mental health is generally where you're able to function well on a daily basis. When it comes to emotional, social, psychological well-being, you're able to do well. Now, why do we need all of this? Why do you need a good mental health? It's basically so that you're able to perform to your best in your life. You're able to live a happy, positive life. Your relationships are positive,
Right.
right? And you're able to find a good purpose in life. You feel
Right.
fulfilled.
Right.
That is what good
So
mental health is.
fulfillness is the key of good mental health.
Yes.
You're feeling
Yeah, you feel
complete.
satisfied.
हाँ.
You're living your life well. You feel satisfied because stresses and problems are something which will always come in life. So life is not going to be a bed of roses.
Right.
But how you handle them, your emotional resilience,
Hmm.
right? So if you have good mental health, you're able to maneuver through this well in life,
Right.
and you're doing well. The ups and downs तो आएंगे, but how you deal with them
हाँ.
talks about your mental health.
हाँ. Right. Ma'am, one thing I just wanted to know, and I think the audience will love to know, कि how will we identify कि if we are needing, if we are seeking for some, mental help, some kind of therapy, and we
Okay.
seek for psychology, कैसे पता चलेगा? क्योंकि in I think not only today's era, हमेशा ऐसे ही होता है कि हम फिजिकल जब डिसेबिलिटीज होता है, एक्सीडेंट होता है, कुछ होता है, you know, because
Yeah.
it's visible.
Right.
But when you are going through some mental illness or sickness, anything, it's not visible. तो आपको
Right.
पता नहीं चलता है.
Right.
तो जो बीमारी आपको खुद ही पता नहीं चल रहा है, it's quite difficult to explain to
Exactly.
others.
Yes.
और क्योंकि हम सब clarified नहीं होते हैं,
Right.
तो we don't think कि हमें किसी डॉक्टर के पास या थेरेपिस्ट के पास जाना चाहिए.
Exactly.
तो how will you explain us कि how will we identify if we need a psychologist or a therapist?
Okay. Okay. Very good question. Over the ages or generations, we are constantly conditioned to be mentally strong. कुछ भी होता है तो it's like तो क्या, I mean, just be strong, let it be, things will pass, you need to be strong. And
मर्द को दर्द नहीं
especially
होता.
exactly, and especially with men, it is okay, you can't be crying, are you a girl? You can't get angry, you just have to keep putting up a very strong front. And this is a societal conditioning that we've all grown up with. So that's why it's even more difficult to know when do I need to seek help, right?
Exactly.
खांसी होती है, सर्दी होती है, बुखार आता है, you're running to a doctor, like you're saying. So you don't always have to be बीमार or mentally ill to go and seek mental help. It's basically if you're feeling very stressed, and you're not able to sleep well because of that. Those thoughts are being very overwhelming for you. It's causing you anxiety, uneasiness. It's kind of disrupting your daily life. You can just go, or you just want to seek some clarity. You're having some issues which are bothering you. You just want to seek some clarity regarding that. You can always go to a counselor. Counselor's office is a very, very safe space. वहाँ पे आप जो बोलते हो, it never goes out of those four walls unless there is a risk to your life. The client is suicidal, then the family needs to be, told about it.
Right.
But otherwise, it's a very safe space. Again, you're not going to be judged for anything. कोई भी feelings हो, because we're human beings, right? All kinds of feelings are always going to come to us. As long as you're not harming yourself or others with it, it's okay. They're going to come. Now, what do you do with those feelings is some place, and something that a counselor is going to help you understand. कि मेरे को हो रहा है.
Right.
So, what do I do with it? So, it's just to kind of gain that clarity or help you pass through that tough phase in your life.
Right.
You can always go seek a counselor's help.
Right. So it's up to us.
Yes.
If we are feeling not so well, वी कैन फिगर आउट, एंड हमें अगर कभी भी लगता है कि चलो मुझे कोई चाहिए एटलीस्ट
Yeah,
बात करने के लिए,
exactly.
एंड वी आर फीलिंग कि हमारे आसपास वो लोग नहीं है, तब भी वी कैन विजिट अ साइकोलॉजिस्ट एंड टॉक टू देम
Absolutely.
एंड मेक आवरसेल्फ calm and
Absolutely.
quiet.
Yes, because कितने लोग बोलते हैं नहीं, but we have our friends. I have my best friend, you know, I can go and always talk to her or him or whatever. But we don't understand that, you know, as we are growing up, we
Hmm.
are constantly learning to put on different masks. कि ये setting में, if I am a certain way, only then I'm going to be acceptable. Or, you know, with my parents, I need to be a certain way. So, you know, we are always taught to put on these different masks. So even with your friends or with your parents or anyone, even if you're very close to them, you will never
Right.
expose your most vulnerable part to them, because you're always going to have this thing of, oh, will they judge me, you know, that
हाँ.
kind of a thing. फिर उनका मेरे तरफ attitude बदल जाएगा, or maybe they won't love me anymore, or they won't respect me anymore.
Right.
How could you, you know, kind of have this kind of a thought? So कितना भी बोलो, a counselor is always going to be a different
क्योंकि
space
वहाँ पे हम
altogether.
ट्रांसपेरेंट रहते हैं.
Yes, absolutely. You can bear your most vulnerable side and you're never going to be judged for it.
Hmm.
So it is always very healing to be in that space, because one place where you can absolutely just be your space and feel accepted for it. So
Right.
it's always a healing space.
Somewhere we all are taught to perform in
Yes.
front of the people, in front of the
Yes.
world. तो therapist is somebody जहाँ पे हमें performance pressure नहीं रहता है हमारे ऊपर.
Not at all.
We can be real.
Yes,
है ना?
absolutely real.
हाँ.
As real as it gets.
Right. जैसा because you mentioned suicidal, and
Mhm.
that time you actually need to inform the
Yes.
family people. तो यहाँ पे although I'm not making fun of anybody, but मुझे यहाँ पे एक छोटा सा funny एक question मेरे तरफ से था कि for example you are you know, you are visiting a client, someone is telling you about themselves. आपको कभी ऐसा कोई क्लाइंट मिला है जो एकदम यू नो साइको हो, एंड यू आर फीलिंग स्केर्ड कि बॉस इसको कैसे मैं सुधारूं? ऐसा कभी हुआ है कि ये तो इतना ज्यादा यू नो ही इज सो स्टक इन हिज ओन वर्ल्ड कि इसको सुधारना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाएगा? कभी ऐसा कोई साइको विजिटर्स मिला है आपको?
I cannot, I wouldn't want to label anyone, because it's not about psycho. See, it's a person is being a certain way because they've gone through something. Yeah. And there's something that is genuinely happening within them. Right? It can be like, you know, chemical imbalances where they would really need probably then help from a psychiatrist. So my job would be, again, not to judge, because like no one is born with a certain you know,
Right.
way, or so it's something that is happening to them, which they cannot help. That's why they're coming to you.
Right.
So, you know, it's more than it's scary. I would more think of how I can help. You know, it's more of, you know, your heart goes out and, okay, how can I help this person better? So that again is not then in my capacity. So I need to refer them to a psychiatrist or people who can genuinely help them in that condition. Right? So it's just that. Yeah. But many a times, you know, in such cases also, when you inform the family members, they are the ones who are in denial. So they are like, no, you know, my child can't be a certain way, or my person is not, aisa kuch nahi hai, aap hi dekho fix, because it's not about fixing anyone.
हाँ.
Right? There are certain way, even you go to a doctor with for an illness, it's not, but फिर भी गोली खाते हो आपको temporary symptomatic relief तो मिलता है.
Right.
But mind work is something which takes time. It needs efforts from the client as well.
Right.
And you know, it's a very give and take relationship with that.
Right. एक सवाल कि यू नो हम फिल्मों में भी बहुत देखते हैं कि हीरो डायलॉग मारते हैं कि यू नो कोई भी माँ के पेट से विलन पैदा नहीं होता, एंड सोसाइटी में भी हमारे घर पे भी वी ऑफन टॉक कि कोई भी इवन अभी भी हमारे वही बात हो रहा था कि नो वन इज बैड फ्रॉम द बिगनिंग, फ्रॉम बर्थ. वो सिचुएशन वैसा बना देते हैं, बट समवेयर ये मैंने अपने पर्सनल लाइफ में एक्सपीरियंस किया है, मे बी यू हैव आल्सो सीन समवन कि बहुत सारे लोगों का ना मेंटालिटी ही बहुत डार्क होता है. दे डोंट सी एनीथिंग पॉजिटिव इन एनीथिंग और एनीवन, है ना? and eventually they end up with some mental illness.
yes, yes.
क्योंकि ये मैंने अपने पर्सनल लाइफ में देख चुका है
Hmm.
कि आप कुछ भी बोलो, उनका हमेशा एक नेगेटिव अप्रोच
Yes,
रहता है,
yes,
towards the world, towards people, towards
right,
themselves,
right,
है ना. They
right.
can't see the positive thing.
Exactly.
एंड मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम ऐसे टीनेजर्स बहुत होते हैं जिनको फॉर एग्जांपल फिल्म चॉइसेस, बहुत सारे लोग ऐसे होते हैं जिनको
They'll,
क्रिमिनल ब्रूटल
yeah, they
फिल्में,
keep watching
है ना,
those.
ये ब्लड शेड ये देखना ज्यादा पसंद आता
Right,
है, एंड
right.
समहाउ दे फॉलो द ट्रेड इन रियल वर्ल्ड.
Yeah.
है ना. किसी बहुत सारे लोग ऐसे होता है कि एम्बिशन होता है कि भाई क्रिमिनल गैंगस्टर होना है, आजकल तो बहुत ट्रेंड में है ये, है ना.
Exactly. That's why social media needs to be more
एग्जैक्टली.
responsible.
तो
But
वैसे में भी इट दे आल्सो नीड सम काइंड ऑफ मेडिकल हेल्प, और ये उनका ट्रेट है, बेसिक कैरेक्टर है, बिकॉज वी कैन चेंज द बेसिक कैरेक्टर.
no, see, this is not about being a basic character. Let me just give you, um, this example. See, when we are small, till if you've seen a child who is till the age of 4 and 5, always very carefree, they're not bothered with what is happening around them or how people are judging them or whatever. They are doing whatever they want. उसके बाद क्या होने लगता है? They start observing their family, their their environment, how people, their relatives, their friends, सब देखते हैं बच्चे, right? They're soaking in all those experiences. They're internalizing them in their own manner, okay? And that is what starts forming your thought processes. So as you grow up, every experience that comes your way is creating some kind of an imprint on your mind. Okay, अगर आप देखते हो तो भाई बहन or two kids in the same family also, now they've gone through the same environment, the same parents, everyone, but are they the same? No, they will be very different,
Right.
because each person is internalizing that experience very differently. Now when it comes to you talking about these people who are constantly negative, okay, so maybe growing up they have experienced a lot of these kind of experiences around them, and then they've formed their own thought process. Maybe they've seen a lot of abuse in their life, they've seen the father hitting the mother, or a lot of those kind of things happening around them maybe. And that is how they've internalized a lot of anger, a lot of कि लोग ऐसे ही होते हैं, those kind of things. And that is what gets फिर एक एक चीज और भी थोड़ी होती है उसके ऊपर छप्पा पड़ते रहता है कि yeah, life is like that only, and you
Right.
make your own this thing, and then as you're growing up you've made all
हम
this,
अपना एक पर्सपेक्टिव बना
हाँ,
लेते हैं.
कि सब बुराई है, people are always very selfish and this and that, and उस पे the social media, which
हाँ.
also again, so then they are attracting because that is what they are relating to, कि ऐसे ही हुआ है, and this is my thought process, and all these things are just kind of conforming to that thought. Okay, so that is why they get more attracted to this, and at some point, yes, at times it gets very very difficult, and help is needed at times. So, but again,
Right.
people around खुद से at that point maybe वो नहीं आएगा कि I need to go seek help, but at least people who are around can kind of take them and
Exactly.
help them.
Exactly.